Alright, hey folks, everything new under the sun. Well, I'm not going to lie, my keyout on my green screen is a little bit sketchy in the image there. That's okay. So what we're doing today is we're taking a look at the Seagate IRONWOLF 3 terabyte drive. 3 terabytes may not sound like a lot to you, but for me, it's a fair size. I have a second generation 4-bay Drobo, and recently one of the drives turned red on it. I'll tell you the story. I will say up front that I'm going to ramble on for a few minutes. So if you want to skip ahead, please do so. I'm going to tell you the whole story. I'm going to go over how to look at the registration, to look at the warranty of your drive, and also go through my reasons for where I'm going to place this in the Drobo, and I will be recording that on the Drobo when I go ahead and put it in the Drobo, and we'll see how the Drobo reacts. My Drobo has 4 operational drives in it right now, so we're going to flip over to the GoPro and have a look at that when I do put this in. But first, I want to take a look at the registration. So I just bought this, like I say, 3 terabyte IRONWOLF drive. This is, well, what's the manufacture date on it? The manufacture date on this one is, if I can find it, I thought I saw it there, November 2017. So literally 2 months old, November 4th, 2017, a little over 2 months old. So I got a nice fresh drive here. This is supposedly, even though it's 5900 RPM drive, it's supposedly faster than some of the kind of the desktop Barracuda drives. Turn down my mic there just a wee bit. Alright, so what do we do first? We want to take a look at the registration and see what the warranty is on this guy. So this guy is actually warranted for 3 years, I believe it is. If you go to the Seagate IRONWOLF website, you'll see that. I'm here on support.seagate.com, and I punched in both the serial number and the part number there, and you can see that my expiry, kind of in the middle there. You can't see my mouse, but it expires November 17th, 2020. So as of shooting this video, it is the year 2018. So I've got a couple of years to go here. I guess that would mean 2-year warranty by that measure. Alright, so, well, November 2020, yeah, that's 3 years from November 2017. Alright, so we got our warranty there. That's how we tell. Apparently, I don't have to go register it. I haven't read that anywhere. I think if it's defective within that time period, you just ship it off, and if it's busted, they will do whatever they do. They give you some options here about C-Tools test code to go and test your hard drive. So I want to go back over to the capacity calculator. So what I have in my Drobo, it looks exactly like the image there. We're going to take a look at it in a second with the GoPro, and I'll have that picture up on screen. But I basically have 3 1 terabyte drives. So let me go ahead and populate it like I have it. So this is a really cool tool on Drobo.com. It allows you to literally plug in the drives that you have and just see how much space you're going to have. Whoops, I want to put another 1 terabyte. Basically what I have is 3 1 terabyte drives and 1 500 gig drive. Now they don't have a 500 gig option for hard drives, but you can see generally the space. Now I want to bring ahead, let's show you the Drobo. Let me go over here and we'll pull up the Drobo dashboard, and you can actually see what it looks like on the dashboard here. Alright, so as I was saying, I wanted to bring in the Drobo into it. So as I was mentioning, I'm recording this second part of the video a couple hours later. So I spoke about the size of the drives that I have in there. 3 1 terabyte and 1 500 gig. And you can see that right here with my 4-bay Drobo. 1 terabyte, 1 terabyte, 1 terabyte. And it was the top 1 terabyte drive that actually turned red. Oh, it was probably 2 weeks ago that it started blinking red, and I didn't have another drive to replace it with, so I simply popped it out, and I literally just popped it back in. I think it reformatted. It seemed to work fine, but one gotcha here. Now it would be obvious that I would replace that drive with my new NAS drive, and normally that would make sense, especially if this was red right now. I'd have to replace it. But when I went to Drobo, I went to their size calculator, and this is where where things get a little more tricky. Let me hide that. Now, as you can see, like I say, This doesn't have the 500 gig drive that I can put in there to show you. But for interest's sake, let me actually pull up. So this actually shows. Let me actually show you how much space I actually have. So I actually have let's see. My total capacity is 2.24 terabytes. So that is 2.24, yeah, 2.72 it's showing with 4 1 terabyte drives. Alright, so that's what we're working on, 2.24. So I need to basically look to increase that 2.24. So let me go ahead and switch this guy off. There we go. Now with this view, what we can do is we can say, well, let's go ahead and put a 1 terabyte. Let's put it in the top just for fun, as if we were replacing that one bad drive. Well, you can put it in the top, and you notice right away, just above my head, that the. Let me drag this over here a little bit. There we go. You notice that the capacity actually. There we go. That's what I wanted to move there. There we go. The capacity. There we go. That's even better. So the raw capacity is 5.45 terabytes, but of course you can't use all that because part of it's used for the parity bits. You notice the purple spot there. That is a reserved space. That is the basically the size of the 3 terabyte drive that I cannot replace. And you see that it actually didn't increase my space, my usable space, at all. So that's a problem because, you know, if I'm putting in a 3 terabyte drive, I'd hope to get something out of it. Now, do remember that I do have, let me go ahead and remove this. I do have 2.24 terabytes by way of the 500 gig drive that is in here. Now, if I go down to this, and this shows 1.81 terabytes, then I can go ahead and put the 3 terabyte drive in. And you can see it then obviously bumps me back up to that 2.72. So I'm gaining a little bit. I don't gain anything if I simply replace the 1 terabyte drive with a 3 terabyte. I just gain reserve space, and when you put another larger drive in, another 3 terabyte or another 2 terabyte, or even another 1.5 terabyte, and then you can gain some space. That reserve space will shrink, and your overall space will increase. So I think what I'm going to do is right now the Drobo is at least showing. Let me go back to my main display here. My Drobo is at least showing that 1 terabyte drive is still fine in the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my good my 500 gig drive out. I may use that out as backup, but putting the 3 terabyte in the 500 gig spot will at least increase my space a little bit. Now, as you can see, in terms of capacity, I don't really need the space anyways. I have 735 gigabytes of space, so it's not an emergency. But I'd rather transfer as much over to the new drive as possible because this is the one that's probably going to last the longest. I've got a Spider-Man sticker because my son gave me a Spider-Man sticker tonight. So that's awesome. So I think what we're going to do now, we will switch over to the camera here. You can see there's my terabyte drive. I'm going to go ahead and open the GoPro up. It's going to be a little bit dark. I'll have to do some post-processing. Now the beauty of it, obviously, is that I can hot swap these things at real time. And of course you got on the back, you've seen it all before, but on the back you've got the colored lights, which means, you know, good drive, bad drive, or you know, whatever else you got there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put it back onto the display so that basically you can see the real-time status of the drive. So let me put this, I'm going to put this over my head here, and that way I can put the GoPro video in the bottom left of the video, and you'll see this one right away. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the. Remember, the bottom drive is a 500 gig drive. So let's make this happen. Let's go ahead, pop out the 500 gig drive. The cool thing about Drobo is that you can do this anytime, and you see it's starting to blink there. It's going to start to blink on above my head there in the image as well. So there is the 500 gigabyte drive there. I think you can see that. There it is. And so that is warm. I'm going to put that down. And like I say, that's a good 500 gig drive, but I've had this 500 gig drive for a long time. The year on this is, let me find the year of manufacture. Can never find it on these things. But it's still a working condition hard drive, so it's not something I'm going to throw out. You know, worst case scenario, if one of these 1 terabyte drives dies, I can certainly put this back in. I've got lots of space. It's not like I'm out of space. Yeah, so there's no known thing there. So let's go ahead and let's get rid of this. Pull up this Java. All right, let's get right to it here. Let's put the 1 terabyte, sorry, the 3 terabyte drive in. We'll put it right in the bottom, replacing the 500 gig drive. And let's see. This is where we struggle to get it in. There we go. All right, so it's in. So now we are looking for the Drobo to actually pick this one up. It's saying 18 hours. It was going to try and deal with three drives, but now it should see the 4th drive in there and actually bring it up. So we should see it go green shortly on the bottom here, and see what happens. Again, sorry for the key out there. Pretty lousy there. The key out. Put my face down there. All right, so now it shows a 3 terabyte drive, and we are now off to the races. Now it's going to blink for a while, and I guess I'll go ahead and stop the video right now. Well, sorry, the GoPro, because that's going to go forever. I'm going to put the lid on. The capacity should go up a bit. So I think I was at 70% capacity. Now it's showing basically 60% capacity. So let's go ahead and put the lid on here. We'll stop the recording on that. And that's going to blink, like I say, for a while. And let's just take a look at the Drobo interface for a second and see what we get here. So we've got, well, it's still saying 3 hours. It's formatting the 3 terabyte drive. It does see it. Unfortunately, I think with the newer versions of Drobo Dashboard, you can actually click on each drive and see its health, and you can have more information about the uptime. But now it shows 1.17 terabytes free, so 43% free, about 60% used, 57 technically. And so we did increase a little bit of space, and technically, well, I just hope that drive doesn't die immediately. I hope I can get through and get all the data. I mean, there was only at maximum 500 gigs of data on that 500 gig drive anyways, so shouldn't be so bad, but it's going to take some time. So it's showing 19 hours to go ahead and rebuild the array. I've been running that quote bad drive in there for a couple of weeks now. It hasn't had any issues recently. I think it was just maybe getting slow. It wasn't responding quite quickly enough to the Drobo. I mean, usually if a hard drive dies, it's going to die, but this doesn't show any particular sign of absolute death. So basically this is saying data protection is in progress. Do not remove any drives until the data protection is complete. So I hope it makes it through the night. I do have another copy of all this data, although I wasn't thinking. I probably should have done a backup just before I swapped this out. I wasn't really thinking about that. Wasn't smart. I have a pretty up-to-date backup, though, a fairly recent backup. Now here what you can see is available for data, 2.69 terabytes of data. And use reserved 1.81. So that's a huge, that's basically all of the size of that extra disk apart from the 1 terabyte that it's reserved. So as soon as I get another drive in there to replace one of the other hard drives, a 2 terabyte, another 3 terabyte, I'd probably just get another 3 terabyte, hopefully another NAS drive, then I'd be able to use that capacity right away. Probably most of that capacity I'd be able to use. And then there's about a terabyte used for data protection, for parity basically. So it's basically got actual data across 3 drives and parity on the 4th drive. That's basically what it's doing. And so it's basically it's looking at the drives as if they were each worth 1 terabyte. So that's how it works. It does some banding across the various drives to make them look like the same size, but of course it can't use any more than 1 terabyte on each because There's only one that's greater than 1 terabyte, so it can't band across. It has to band across at least 2 drives to be able to use the space. So one more larger drive and I'd be good to go. But I think I'll be fine for now. Like I say, worst case scenario, if I lose that bad drive, I can stick the 500 gig in, back in, and I'll go back to the same space that I had. And the volume stays the same. It's still a 16 terabyte volume as it looks to the Mac that I'm on. So going back up here, this is currently saying about 21 hours, so I expect to wake up in the morning and it will be mostly done, as long as I don't stress it and strain it. So I'm going to let this thing process, and probably we'll be back in the morning, do another video to make sure that this was finished and see how well it did. So that is the installation of the 3 terabyte IRONWOLF. I've never had experience with it. We're going to see how this one goes, but I'm pretty excited about getting a real IRONWOLF, a real NAS drive in there. So I think that is all I want to say. That's all I want to show you. Let me see here. Let me pull this back up and go to my... So basically what I have here now is 2.72 terabytes of available data. So how does that match up with my actual size? Let's go back here to volumes, capacity, and go to the thing. And then let me turn on my display again here. So basically what we're looking at with a 3 terabyte and 3 1 terabytes is 2.72. So how close did the Drobo calculate for that? Well, let's go ahead and turn on the display. You can see right in the middle there is the total space, 2.69 terabytes. So pretty close guesstimation by the website's drive estimator. So it's a pretty cool tool. You can drag and drop any size drives into it what you want. Say for example, if I put a 2 terabyte in, this is the exercise I'm gonna want to do next time I go to buy a drive. If I replace a 1 terabyte drive with a 2 terabyte, how much space do I gain? Well, let's put that in there, and all of a sudden I get a whole other terabyte, 2 point whatever it was, 2.7 to 3.6, so almost a terabyte I gain. So what if I put a 3 terabyte in there? Let's put that in there. I get all the way up to 4.5, so I gain 2.6 to 4.5. I gain 2 terabytes of space, and then of course I continue on. I can put a 2 terabyte drive in one of those, and I'm quickly adding terabytes at that point. So I don't intend to do that anytime soon, to be honest. I still have a lot of space to use. I'm only at 1 point. Let me see. Let's go back to this here. If I go back to my display, I'm only using 1.52 terabytes of space. So I honestly don't expect to use that. Use the extra 1 terabyte anytime soon. I mean, it took me a couple of years to accumulate the 1.52 terabytes. For all my videos on YouTube, I do back them up. I do copy them to the Drobo, but I mean, they're only like 200, 300 megs each. I have to keep them that small in terms of quality because our internet bandwidth is pretty slow. So there you go. And not like we can wait around waiting for this. 19 hours it's saying. So like I say, I'll be back in the morning. We'll see how this does. Do a follow-up video and see where we are from there. We'll see you in the morning. Alright, this is the next day. It's been about 8 hours or so. And as you can see, it is saying 6 hours remaining now. I think we started at 17 hours. I'm just going to tack this clip on. I don't know exactly where we left off. But certainly the concern with these data transfers taking so long, and I don't even have a huge amount of data. I mean, I have 1 point whatever. What's my capacity? What's my actually data? I have 1.52 terabytes of data, yet it takes 17 hours to synchronize and rearrange the data here. I'm a little confused at why it takes so long, to be honest, for the data protection. Because with one disk failure, if during those 17 hours one other of these hard drives fails, I think I'm out of luck, and that's the sketchy part of it. With the I think starting with the Generation 3 Drobo, you can get 2 disk failure, and therefore, at least while it's transferring the data, if you lose another drive, you still have your data. But I think at this point, I'm at the mercy of the 6 hours transfer, and if I lose another drive, my data is gone. So just something to be aware of, be concerned about, know the possibilities of, I guess, because it takes so long to synchronize the data. I'll probably do a video where I put together some of the Drobo teaching videos and just link to them, show you where they are, because it really gives you a good background on how Drobos work, how they actually do the striping, how they have zones of data that span across multiple disks, etc., and kind of the logic and the technology behind the Beyond RAID system. But anyways, this is where we are after about 8 hours. It's the morning, so I'm just waiting for this other 6 hours to go. Probably by the end of the day this will be done, hopefully with no hard drive failures, and then I'll go ahead and take another backup with my 3 terabyte single backup drive, just so I have that extra copy of the current fresh data from this new drive pack. So we will catch up in the next video when this is done. Alright, this is a short update. This is the final update to the video. As you can see through the Drobo Dashboard, the Drobo disk pack is fully restored. It did take pretty much a full 17 hours or whatever it ended up being, but I'm good to go. I've got all my drives in place. I had no drive failure, thankfully, so that was a big deal. I do have a final total use space of 1.53 and a total usable space of 2.69 terabytes. So we're looking pretty good. One thing I did do to finish up here was I did run a time machine backup. I did a final backup to the Drobo. I always do that manually, basically every week or so. I don't have it set to automatic because my Drobo isn't plugged in all the time to my Mac. But I also have a Super Duper here, and it is going ahead and copying all the files over to a single 3 terabyte, I believe it's a Seagate USB 3.0 backup hard drive, and that ends up being my second copy and my tertiary copy, my third copy of all my data. I say second and third because it's really my copy, my first copy, if you will, of the data that's on the Drobo, although the data that's on the Drobo also includes time machine backups from my Mac. So there's actually data that's on my Mac specifically on my 256 gig SSD is actually in 3 places. There's 3 sets of the same data that's on my Mac, on my MacBook, obviously, on the Drobo, and then on the backup drive. And that's how I do my backups. So just to cap this one off, a successful implementation of the drive. But again, you'll note that the size of the drive I am not using let me go to the usage here. There's 1.81 terabytes of reserved for expansion space. This means 2 terabytes effectively of my new 3 terabyte drive is not being used at all. That will quickly be consumed as soon as I put something larger than one of the other 3 terabyte drives. So something larger than the 1 terabyte drive in one of those slots, and then I'll be able to consume more of this. There has to be at least 2 for it to create a zone, the way Beyond RAID works with the Drobo. And so once I get a 2 terabyte, a 3, I'll probably get another 3 by the time I get around to doing it, and I'll replace it, and then my space will quickly go up by, if it's another 3 terabyte, I'll probably get another 2 terabytes of actual usable space, so I'll probably jump up to 4.69 terabytes of usable space. But as you can see, based on the actual usage that I have now, I mean, I'm nowhere close to using up my 2.69 terabytes. So it'll be another year or so before I get to that point. So that's the wrap up to the video. And thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. And hope you enjoyed the blathering about the IRONWOLF NAS hard drive. So I'm pretty stoked and excited about having that in my drive, my first NAS drive officially in my Drobo. So we'll see how long it lasts. But of course, to wait until it dies, that's probably going to be a number of years. So you won't see a follow-up video about the longevity of it, I'm sure, for the next 3 to 5 years, whenever that decides to fail. But I probably will do another video once one of the 1 terabyte drives fails. And again, I have no idea. Usually drives last pretty long, with my use case, I don't. There's not a lot of activity happening, so that will be a while before that happens as well. Hopefully, that will be the ideal. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you guys in the next video.